Bryan was the kind of man people spoke about with admiration. His name was on business magazines, news headlines, and the walls of boardrooms where decisions shaped entire markets. He was young, brilliant, wealthy. The world called him successful. But success has a sound. For Bryan, it was silence. Every night, he came home to a penthouse overlooking the glittering city. Tall glass walls, expensive art, polished floors. Everything looked perfect. But nothing felt alive. No laughter. No warmth. Just the quiet hum of the air conditioner and the loneliness he had learned to live with. He had grown up without softness. His parents were present, but never really there. His achievements were met with nods, not hugs. His birthdays with gifts, not love. He built an empire, but no one had ever taught him how to build a home. Across the city, in a little street that the world didn't pay attention to, lived Lucy. She didn't own much, but she had peace. Lucy worked in a small bookstore cafe. She brewed tea, arranged books, and smiled at strangers. She wasn't loud or flashy. She spoke softly, moved gently, and treated people with a warmth that could melt even the hardest day. Her world was not big, but it was full. Full of familiar faces, laughter over teacups, stories shared between shelves, and small joys that didn't need to be impressive to be meaningful. She was shy, yes, but her heart was steady and deep. She cared, truly cared, in a way most people didn't anymore. One rainy evening, fate crossed their paths. Bryan's driver had taken a wrong turn. The rain was heavy, the city lights blurred behind droplets on the car window. Feeling tired, and strangely drawn in, Bryan told the driver to stop. He stepped out, rain dampening his suit, and walked into the warm glow of the little bookstore cafe. A small bell above the door chimed softly as he entered. Lucy looked up from the counter. Her gaze landed on him, not the billionaire the world knew, but a man who looked exhausted from more than work. The kind of exhaustion that sits in the soul. She didn't ask for his name. She didn't ask what he did. She simply spoke in the gentle voice that was uniquely hers. "You look like you could use something warm. Tea or coffee?" Her tone held no judgment. No expectations. Just kindness. Bryan paused, something in him stilled. He wasn't being greeted for his money, his status, his power. For the first time in a very long time, someone simply saw him. He exhaled slowly, almost like relief. "Tea," he answered quietly. Lucy nodded and began making it, carefully, slowly, as though the act itself mattered. And in that tiny cafe, with rain softly tapping against the windows, Bryan felt something he hadn't felt in years. Seen, not admired, not respected, just seen, and it was enough to make him come back again and again. Got it. We continue with Bryan and Lucy. Soft tone, slow burn tension, no explicit scenes. Bryan returned. The next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. At first, he told himself it was the tea. Then, that it was the quiet atmosphere. But deep down he knew the truth. He came for her. Lucy welcomed him each time with the same gentle smile. Not overly bright. Not forced. Just warm. Like a small light in a dim room. They began to talk. Not the surface-level conversations Bryan was used to, not about stock prices or market forecasts. But about books, childhood memories, the sound of rain, dreams. That felt too fragile to share with most people. One afternoon, Lucy told him she always wanted to see the ocean, but life had never given her the chance. Bryan listened quietly, really listened, without trying to fix or promise anything. He told her softly about growing up in a house filled with marble and silence. How applause had replaced affection. How success had replaced love. Lucy didn't pity him. She simply placed her hand on the table close to his, not touching, just near enough to say, "I'm here." Yes, something gentle began to grow. Their fingers brushed one day as they reached for the same book on the shelf. A slow, warm spark. Not a rush of desire, but a quiet recognition. Their eyes held each other a second longer than before. Some evenings, Bryan stayed in the cafe past closing time. He would help Lucy wipe tables, turn off lights, flip the sign to closed. They would stand at the door, neither wanting the moment to end. Silences between them were no longer empty, they were full. Full of something building. Something neither of them wanted to break. One evening, as Lucy was putting away the last stack of books, Bryan spoke, his voice softer than usual. "Lucy," she turned to him, her fingers lightly dusted with the yellow tint of old pages. "Yes." He hesitated, a rare thing for him, then met her eyes. "Would you have dinner with me? Nothing formal. Just a quiet dinner. Just us." Her heart skipped. She wasn't used to grand invitations. And this wasn't grand. It was simple. Sincere. She nodded, shy but sure. "I'd like that." Dinner was exactly as he promised. Quiet, gentle, unhurried. A small corner table. Soft music. Warm light. They talked, and when they weren't talking, they simply watched each other with soft eyes. Bryan didn't try to impress her. Lucy didn't try to pretend. They were just two people who had found something rare. Safety, ease, affection without pressure. At the end of the night, when Bryan walked her home, they paused at her door. Neither moved away. Neither stepped forward. Just a moment suspended, full, silent, beautiful. He touched her cheek lightly. She leaned into his hand, without even thinking. No rush. Just warmth. Just closeness. Something deeper than words. The connection between Bryan and Lucy didn't happen in one moment. It grew quietly, like a candle flame taking hold, soft at first, then steady, then undeniable. Their days became intertwined. He would stop by the cafe every morning, not to be served, but to see her. Start her day. She would ask him how he slept. He would ask her what she was reading. Small questions, but asked with real interest. Evenings were spent walking, slowly, down quiet streets where the city lights blurred into soft halos. Lucy listened when Bryan spoke about pressure, responsibility, and the strange loneliness of being at the top. Bryan listened when Lucy spoke about her fears, not of life, but of being too fragile for someone to hold. Every conversation loosened another thread of the guard they each held. It happened on a night when the sky was dark, heavy with the promise of rain. Lucy had closed the cafe late. Bryan had stayed to help her clean like he'd done many evenings before. They walked to his car slowly, as the street grew quiet. But instead of driving her home immediately, Bryan suggested they go somewhere. Not loud, not crowded, just quiet. Lucy nodded. They drove to his penthouse, the top floor of a glass tower that overlooked the entire sleeping city. But inside, the atmosphere was warm. Soft lights. No cold luxury. It felt lived in, softened by his presence. Lucy stepped inside and looked around, taking in the gentle glow of the room. "It's beautiful," she said softly. Bryan shook his head just a little, eyes on her instead of the room. "Only when someone else is here." She looked down, smiling shyly. They settled on the couch, close but not touching, the kind of closeness that speaks without words. They talked for a long time. About childhood, dreams. What scared them. What healed them. Lucy told him about the first time she fell in love, how it was gentle, then lost too soon. Bryan told her about never having truly been loved, only admired. They didn't cry. They didn't over-explain. They understood each other quietly. Eventually, silence settled between them, warm, full, expectant. Lucy's hands were folded in her lap. Bryan looked at her, really looked. "Lucy," he said softly, "I need you to know something. I don't want to rush anything with you. I care about you more than I expected to." Her breath shook, not from fear but from feeling. She turned towards him, meeting his eyes, her voice barely a whisper. "Bryan, I haven't been with anyone in a long time." Her fingers trembled slightly, not from weakness but from truth. I'm really tight. And I get nervous easily. So if we ever get close, please go slowly." The room stilled. Bryan didn't close the distance eagerly. He let the moment breathe. He reached up, slowly, gently, placing his hand along her cheek. His thumb traced her skin with a softness she had never known. He spoke quietly, not heavy, not dramatic, just sincere. I'll go slowly. I'll move gently. I won't rush you. I'll follow your pace, always. Her eyes softened, filling with emotion, not fear but trust. She leaned in first. Their lips touched, tender, warm, delicate, the kind of kiss that feels like learning someone's heart, not just their mouth. His other hand rested lightly at her waist, not pulling, just holding. Lucy's breath fluttered, but she didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned closer. The kiss deepened, not in hunger but in affection. Slow, warm, unhurried. The kind of closeness that grows from being seen. The room was quiet. Soft morning light slipped past the curtains, pale and gentle like dawn itself. Lucy woke first. She didn't wake in panic, or shame, or confusion. She woke wrapped in Bryan's arms. His hand rested lightly against her waist, not gripping, just being there. Like it belonged. She breathed slowly. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she needed to guard herself. Her body was still warm, her heartbeat steady. Bryan stirred behind her. "Good morning," he whispered, voice still thick with sleep. Lucy turned slightly to see his face. He wasn't watching her with hunger. No possessiveness. Just softness. She smiled, a small, shy one. "Good morning." He brushed a strand of hair from her cheek, gentle, unhurried. "Are you okay?" he asked. The question held care, not regret. Consideration, not expectation. Lucy nodded. "I'm okay." Her voice was quiet. Then she added, almost embarrassed, "Thank you for going slowly last night." His expression softened, warmer than anything she had ever seen. "I told you," he said, thumb tracing her cheek, "I would never hurt you." They lay there a while, not talking, just existing in the same breath. Bryan insisted on cooking. He wasn't great at it. The eggs were uneven and the toast got a little burnt, but he tried. Lucy laughed and he laughed too, and the room felt human again, not polished, not billionaire perfect, just real. They sat across from each other at the kitchen island. No tension, no pressure. Just warm silence and small smiles. Lucy understood something. He never treated her like a moment. He never treated her like a possession. He never pushed, never demanded, never consumed. He cherished her. She saw the man who held her carefully, who listened when she whispered, who protected her without owning her, and her heart warmed, deep and full. She leaned her head against his chest, and he wrapped his arms around her, gently, securely, like holding her was something sacred. No words. Just peace. Just love forming, slow and real.